Hello, welcome to the February 2020 Logos Mythos Book Club. I hope you guys have had a wonderful month so far. I know we're just getting started, but I hope that it's been good. I hope this year has been good so far for you. I can't believe we're already in the second month. This year's already flying by. So tonight, what I thought we would talk about, since we have Valentine's Day coming up, I thought we could talk about some books that feature love, but not just the sappy kind of love. I thought we could look at some books that go into love amongst siblings, friends, and parents and children, and maybe even pets and their owners. And I'll probably toss in some sappy ones as well. The other big thing tonight, though, after we get done talking about those books, I thought that I would go ahead and reveal to you guys the cover for my novella, which is coming out on February 11th. This Good Thing is the title. So I'll show you guys the cover, and I'll also read you the book description. So a couple of quick things. Yes, that is Tolkien Cat right behind me. I'm very happy that he actually decided to grace us with his presence this month. And I have rearranged my office area. So I actually feel like I have an office area, which is kind of neat. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about the background. My son made, that for me. So that lovely little sign, now you get to see it. Before it was always behind my computer, so you could never see that. And then I also have some fun books behind me. So I would love to know, as I get started talking, hello, thank you for joining us. So I would love to hear your suggestions for good books that feature love as we go through. So like I said, I'm going to be talking about not just the sappy kind, but friends and siblings and other things like that. So if you think of some that really come to mind, go ahead and pop those in the comments, because I would love to know your suggestions and books that you've found to be especially lovely for just showcasing love. Any kind of love between friends and siblings and other things that you don't necessarily think about. I think romantic kind of love takes the I guess, spotlight or the stage in February. And I just think that it's good to highlight some other kinds. So that's what we're going to try to do. So first of all, I thought about siblings. And, you know, as I was thinking about books, now this was challenging because I could have pulled every book from my shelves probably. But as I first started thinking about siblings, I thought back to some books that I read as a kid. So these first few are going to be geared toward kids, but then we're going to kind of jump back and forth on all of these. So first of all, I thought about the Boxcar Children, okay? Boxcar Children and Bobbsey Twins. These were the first two that popped to my mind. Okay, so Boxcar Children, if you've never read them, these are 4 siblings who are orphans. Their names are, and I had to look this up because I could not remember their names, Henry, Jesse, Violet, and Benny. And those are the 4 siblings in the Boxcar Children. And they, well, I'll tell you that in a minute. First, Bobbsey Twins. It's 2 sets of twins, and you have Nan and Bert are one set of twins, and then Freddie and Flossie are the younger twins. So the thing about these 2 books is all of them have each other's backs, right? They're really good siblings for one another. They look out for each other. They take care of each other. The Bobbsey twins always solve mysteries and things like that. And of course, being orphans, the Boxcar Children really do have to look out for each other. They're all they have. So these are just some really fun books that I remembered from childhood. And another one along the same vein was the Hardy Boys. I also enjoyed these when I was a kid, and my son enjoys these now. So the Hardy Boys are Frank and Joe Hardy, and they of course solve mysteries. You're probably familiar with these, but it's very similar with those books. Probably this is for slightly older or more advanced readers. But it's the same concept. You know, they look out for each other, they take care of each other, they have each other's backs, and I just think that those are some really, really special books for kids to read, to kind of see that sibling dynamic and just a good relationship. So for adult books that feature siblings, The first ones that popped to my mind, well, I thought about Ann Patchett. If any of you guys have read her, I've heard that people kind of talk about her books as an example of the dysfunctional siblings, right? And I think Commonwealth is the one that comes to mind for that. Oh yeah, I love the boxcar books. My kids have discovered them recently too, and they're really enjoying reading through those. So the other one that came to mind is Kristen Hanna. This is an author who I discovered a few years ago, and I think I read Between Sisters first. Now, this is not the one that I want to really highlight. I just don't happen to have a copy of the one I really, really loved, and that one is called Winter Garden. Now, Between Sisters obviously is between sisters. Okay, so you get a couple of sisters who have been estranged from one another for, I want to say, a couple of decades. It's quite a while that they're not really in contact. And then they come back together after some time. And it is a good look at, just siblings, specifically sisters who have grown apart. And then as they become adults and they've kind of gone through life, coming back together. But Winter Garden, also by Kristen Hanna. Okay, Winter Garden is phenomenal. It's a book that features sisters, two sisters as well, and their mom. And the thing about this book is these sisters don't have the best relationship with their mother. And they come back together, and I can't remember all the details because it has been a while since I've read it, but they come back together because of their mother. And so they're kind of bonding again, they're getting to know each other again. But further than that, they're getting to know who their mother is in ways that they were never able to before. And so this kind of goes into not only the sibling love and bonding, but also the parent-child, mother-daughter relationship. One quote that I jotted this down because this was something that really struck me from that book was, "How could any woman know her own story until she knew her mother's?" All right, so I just thought that this book was excellent. It was very well written. It was just a good look into these kinds of relationships. So, and I'm going to give you a side quest here. I would love to know books specifically on mother-child, whether it be mother-daughter or mother-son relationships that are done well in literature. I would love to hear your suggestions because I will actually be speaking in, well, I guess in a few months, specifically about mothers in literature. So I'd love to get some other ideas other than the ones that I have in my mind. So that would be, those are my sibling ones. Okay, let's see. Oh yes, Nancy Drew was another good one. I read both Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys when I was growing up. I loved both of them. So those, good one, yeah. And even though she didn't have siblings, I seem to remember there were a lot of like friendships in there, which is another great thing. And we're going to get to that in just a minute about the friendships in books. So parent-child, all right, the very first one that popped to my mind, let's see, I have it here, was Anne of Green Gables. And if you have ever read this book, or seen the movie, I guess, or any of the movies or TV shows, however you've seen it, because I know that there's a new one which I have not watched yet. But Matthew and Marilla Cuthbert decide that they want a boy to help Matthew around the farm. They're a brother sister, and they're older, and so they need that help. And the orphanage makes a mistake, and they end up with Anne with an E. And so at first they're a little bit hesitant about this because they wanted a boy. The purpose was to help Matthew around the farm. Well, Matthew pretty much immediately fell in love with Anne because, she's a little bit winsome. I think everybody who's read Anne of Green Gables falls in love with her and her spunky, ridiculous ways. And Marilla took a little bit longer, but she did fall in love with Anne. And I just think that their relationship is beautiful because Marilla and Matthew adopted Anne. They brought her into their home, and even though they weren't her parents necessarily, they were her guardians, and they loved her so much. And I love that relationship. I love to see the development of that relationship because, like I said, at first it was very hesitant. Marilla was not at all happy about having a girl. And it took her some time to kind of figure out what she was even supposed to do. As she said, she had no idea how to raise a daughter or any kind of kid. You know, she was not really sure what she was going to do with this crazy, spunky girl. And I think that that's probably the most fun part of these books, is watching that development in their characters as they learn to get along, as they learn to live together, as they learn how to, you know, just do life together. And that's a challenge. So that was the first one that popped in my mind. And then another one that came to mind, and I don't know that this would necessarily be the first one that pops to mind when you're thinking parent-child, but I thought about A Wrinkle in Time. And the reason I thought about this book, my kids read this, I think, last year as part of their little book club at our local library. And I had never read it before then, and I read it when they did. And I just liked the way the parents and the kids interacted. Even though you don't actually see a lot of that necessarily in the scenes, you see the influence of that. So you see the influence of the parents on the kids, and you see the way that the kids look up to their parents. And so I thought that maybe that was a little different way of looking at the parent-child dynamic in a book. Also, you've got great sibling relationships to look at in here with, oh goodness, Meg, could not think of her name, Meg and Charles Wallace. And then also her friend, or their friend, Calvin O'Keefe. And I think it's a cute little dynamic because they kind of, Calvin and Meg kind of have a crush on each other, but it's not super gooey, and they're really good friends. And I like to see that kind of development too. So I thought that this was a good book for both of those. So let's see. Try to find Missing. Okay, Sibling Love. It's about a brother and sister trying to solve their parents' disappearance. It's a Fear Street book by R.L. Stine. Oh, that's a good suggestion. I remember reading some of the R.L. Stine books and spooking myself when I was a kid too. I don't think I ever read that one though. That sounds really interesting. So that would be a good one to add to your list. And then, so that leads us to Friends. All right, so, well, I guess I have to pull this one back. Oh, I have it sitting right here. So I'm back to Anne of Green Gables. Sorry, I do love this book. But Anne and Diana, they have such a beautiful relationship. So that would be, I think, a great example of the friendship between girls. You see it as they grow up, because when we first meet them, they're still young. And so through the series of these books, you watch them grow up through high school, going off to teaching school, and all of the things that go along with that. And so I think that that's a really beautiful example. There's one more relationship in this book that you can probably guess that I'm going to come back to in a little bit. And then a great example of friendship, guy friendship, would be in this series. Okay, you probably know exactly where I'm going, but I've actually got two from here. The first one is Frodo and Sam. Okay, so is there any greater friendship or example of friendship in literature than Sam and Frodo? I was going to read a quote, but I can't do that without crying, so I'm just not going to read it. But basically, it's toward the end of the book, end of the third book, Return of the King, when they're in Mount Doom, and Sam is going to make sure that Frodo completes his mission. And I'm not going to read it because I really will start crying. But Sam and Frodo, they are committed to one another, and just their friendship is very beautiful. Also, another friendship in this book would be Legolas and Gimli. Okay, so when they first meet each other, you've got an elf and a dwarf, and let's face it, they don't really get along, right? So over time, though, they have a respect for one another, which grows from that into a true friendship. And I think that Tolkien does an excellent job of developing these relationships, these friendships, as he develops the characters themselves. You know, you see a lot of development in Frodo's character, which that's a whole other topic, just developing a character through a book. But the relationships are amazing. in this. And, oh, I'm so glad you said Chronicles of Narnia, because I actually forgot to grab that off my shelf. That was another one that I had for The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I had that planned for siblings. It's an interesting dynamic because, you know, Edmund makes some mistakes and his siblings let him know that he has made some mistakes, right? They're, you know, well, I can't remember which one it was, but I know at least one of them was a little hesitant to forgive him, but they do in the end. They learn how to forgive one another and to go on from there. And yes, this is the complete one. I also have the individual ones, but yeah, I think that that's a really great example of the sibling friendship. So that's another really good one. And let's see, I was on Friends. I think that was everything I had for Friends. And then the next one I was going to talk about, we're going to talk about pets because, well, you guys know how much I love my pets. The first one that came to mind, and if you guys were like me and you had to read this in, I think it was junior high when I had to read this, absolutely broke my heart, okay? If you've ever tried to read Where the Red Fern Grows, it really will. You need tissues. Let's just put it that way, okay? But it's a boy and it's his two dogs, Old Dan and Little Ann. And the boy's name is Billy. Okay, so a boy and his two dogs. I mean, what's more coming of age, I think, than that? And, you know, spoilers, which I don't know how spoiling this would be. I think this is pretty common knowledge, but, you know, he does lose them in the end. And I think that that's a huge thing for any child who has pets growing up. It's something that they have to face. And I do think it's part of the coming of age thing. This book, I remember, was quite interesting. And yes, I definitely cried. So Where the Red Fern Grows. And then another one that came to mind, this was a favorite as a kid, Black Beauty. Okay, so Black Beauty starts out life in a great place. And then things happen over the years. But I think that the most interesting thing about this book is the fact that this horse, Black Beauty, goes through some rough times, and yet in the end, when love is presented to him from another human, he's able to open back up and trust again. And I think that that is probably the most beautiful part of this book, because there's a lot that happens to this horse. He's, you know, owned by a lot of different people, and some of it's good, some of it's not good. But in the end, he learns to trust again, even after everything. And I think that that's one of the beautiful things about animals, is how unconditional their love is with their owners who love them. So I think that that is a good case for that. And then the sappy kind. All right, so we may as well mention a couple. All right, here we are back to Anne of Green Gables. All right, there is Anne and there is Gilbert. And Anne wants nothing to do with Gilbert for a very long time. And I think that what I would focus on is Gilbert in this whole saga of the Anne of Green Gables series. Gilbert falls in love with Anne and calls her Carrots from day one, as soon as she moved to the island. And then as time goes on, his feelings for her don't change. He still has feelings for her, but he understands that, you know, maybe she doesn't feel the same way. So, but instead of, you know, kind of pulling away and just wanting nothing to do with her, I think one of the greatest examples of sacrifice without the possibility or expectation for any kind of return for that sacrifice is in these books from Gilbert Blythe. So if you have not read the Anne of Green Gables books, I highly recommend them, because there's just a whole bunch of different types of relationships that you see in there. There's a great example of the mentorship of a teacher with students. There are all sorts of just really, really great relationships in there. Lucy Maud Montgomery did an amazing job of developing not only her characters, but their relationships with one another. So if you're looking to study that kind of, I guess, building in a world, I would recommend that series. So let's see. And then finally, I have to say, Beren and Luthien. All right, this is Tolkien's work that was, this particular volume was edited by his son, Christopher Tolkien, who I hated to hear about his death a couple of weeks ago, but this book is amazing. I love all of the notes in here, all of the kind of backstory about how Tolkien wrote this and how it works in with all of his other writings. That to me is fascinating because I'm a little nerdy when it comes to that. But the love story between Beren and Luthien is one of the most beautiful. She gave up immortality to be with Beren, and there's just a lot of beautiful language in this book, a lot of beautiful imagery, and I highly recommend this one. So if you're looking for a good sappy romantic kind of relationship, that would be Beren and Luthien, in my opinion. And I know that there are a million other wonderful books that we could talk about, but I stopped myself there. So you're probably all glad. All right, so that's what I have for books. And like I said, I would love to hear your suggestions. So if you have some others that you thought of for any of these that just show love, the different types of love, whether it be between siblings or friends or even pets, all of that kind of stuff, just share away. And like I said, I would love to hear especially any mother-child relationships in books that you thought were done extra well, I guess. I'd love to hear about those. So now, without further ado, I have the cover for This Good Thing. And This Good Thing is my novella, which will be out on February 11th. And it is related to my debut novel, Any Good Thing. However, you don't have to read one before the other. They are related, but you don't have to read them in any particular order. This novella is set before Any Good Thing, and this is the cover. So once again done by Miss Rachel Ritchie, who is incredibly talented. She has done all of my book covers, and I hope that she will do all of the ones to come. She does such an amazing job. So This Good Thing, and I can't really reach it, but it does look a lot like Any Good Thing. She is creating these book covers to go together so beautifully, and I'm very excited to see the next two in this. I'm calling it Carolina's Legacy Collection because it's not a series in the strict sense of you have to read them in a certain order. It's not like that. Any Good Thing is a novel. This Good Thing is a novella. I will have a short story collection out in the fall, and I will also have an epistolary, which is a collection of letters that is also related to these, that I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to release it. We'll see. Details to come. But all of them have similar titles, and the book covers will be made similar as well, thanks to Rachel's incredible design prowess. So there you go, This Good Thing. And as promised, I will read the description for the book, because I don't think that I've posted, in fact, I know I haven't posted the description publicly yet. It's my newsletter subscribers saw the cover and the book description last Thursday. So here we go. Carolina Burns faces words no one wants to hear. She's dying. She fights for her final year on Earth until she chooses to simply live. Her husband, Ben, and their 11-year-old daughter, Rachel, must also accept her diagnosis. Their faith will be tested and their bravery tried. Carolina writes letters to Rachel for all the life events she'll miss and spends every waking moment with her loved ones or in the garden where she coaxes beauty from the Georgia soil. Through it all, the Burns family uncovers how to embrace this good thing, life. So this novella is, I would classify it as Southern fiction, Christian Southern fiction, and like Any Good Thing, I tagged it more as Southern fiction with Christian themes. This one is definitely more Christian, more Christian fiction. It's just a lot more about that. Ben is a preacher. Carolina is a preacher's wife. So there's a lot of their faith that comes through in this last year, this final year of her life. So it's definitely got a lot of love in it. There is love between friends. There's the love between Ben and Carolina. They had met when they were 15 years old. So they had been together and in love for a total of 25 years plus 1 year more. And this is that last year. And then there's also the mother-daughter love between Carolina and Rachel. So there's a lot of love in this book, and I hope that that comes through. I hope that readers enjoy it. So keep checking back here for more information about the novella. Like I said, it'll be out February 11th, but I'm also going to have some opportunities for anyone who would like to read it early. So keep an eye out for that, and I hope to hear from you about that. If you guys have any questions about the novella, if you have any thing that you want to ask or anything like that. And then I have one other thing I want to mention before I sign off, and that is that I am finalizing some book club kits for both Any Good Thing and This Good Thing. This is something that I've been working on and has just kind of been on the back burner for a while, but they will both be completed in the next couple of weeks. So if you have a book club and you would like to read either of these books, then I have these kits that I can send. They include all sorts of goodies, including printable bookmarks and special graphics that you can post on your social media to share what your book club is reading, and all sorts of other things, behind the scenes, little details, and maybe even some deleted scenes and fun things like that, that I hope book clubs will enjoy. So if you're interested, let me know. I'm also available for either Skype chats or even in person. Now I live in the New Orleans area, so I'm thinking like a couple of hours from New Orleans. And if I'm available, I would love to meet with your book club in person to chat about the book and answer any questions you have. And I can also send you autographed copies. So just send me an email, joy@joyerenkatory.com, if you have any questions about that, or you just want more information about either of the books, or if you have book recommendations for me. So I hope you guys have an amazing February, and I look forward to seeing you all in March. Bye.